Hi, my name is Peiying, and I am a senior majoring in statistics and public health at UC Berkeley. In this summer, I work for August Health to do the data analyst for residential care facility for elderly in California. Some problem I met were that the data set was too large and contained a lot of unnecessary information, such as facilities that already closed many years ago. I performed a data cleaning and selected the specific columns that I need for the analysis. And then I would like to find the distribution of capacity in different level. I also want to find the closest community around our current user. In order to achieve this, I built two interactive tools that allowed internal user to interact with the data. The bottom right is a picture of searching tool that allowed user to search or include specific community by keywords, or they can choose to look at all communities in one or more cities or counties. Any change in the output they made on the left-hand side will be immediately reflected on the right side output. And above here is the location analyst tool that show the locations of community on the map. Green are potential customers and red are users. My entire summer internships could be summarized by this diagram. I came up with some new ideas by exploring the data set and then went to learn the coding skills I need to achieve those ideas. Try to practice those skills in my case, run some tests to see if there were any bugs. Then I would present whatever I found on a weekly meeting with my supervisors, getting feedback from them, and further develop the idea that we all think is interesting. And the conversation would give me inspiration of new ideas. Then I came back to the first step, having this activity circle again and again. My next step would be updating the data set for both tools, making adjustment based on the user's feedback, and optimize the features for the tools. Finally, I want to thank you all who work in the Workforce Innovation Program and made this amazing program run perfectly in the summer.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bethlehem Messele, go by Beth for short. I'm from UC Santa Cruz. I'm going into my second year, and I worked with Immergo Labs during the summer. And a big project I worked on was a literature review on balance assessment, and I'll be presenting that today. So the big picture, the motivation and the problem, that's accessible physical therapy in the metaverse. So just being able to connect with your physical therapist at home is a really great thing. And, it's really hard to do like physical therapy over Zoom. Like it's hard for if I stretched my hand like over this 2D screen, a physical therapist can't really analyze me well. And the thing I was working on was gathering more information on how physical therapists assess somebody's balance. So Immergo Labs can use that knowledge to better make a way where a physical therapist can assess a patient's balance just using the headset. And some of the technical contribution and learning that I did, it wasn't just a literature review. That was just one part. I did social media posts for Immergo Labs, and I also did note taking during the meetings, which was fun. A challenge that occurred to me was, sometimes a research paper can be really big. I read over 66 research papers, which is a lot, in order to write my literature review, and writing it on Overleaf, so it can be in a LaTeX format, was also something that took me a while to learn, but here I am. The outcome of the literature review, I'm really happy about how that turned out, and I'm excited to see the paper that they're building off of that. And the legacy of the social media posts is really great to make those posts, and it's very nice when I see them on my LinkedIn. The future of Immergo, I'm really excited to see where it'll go. I'll definitely be following them. Well, I like to thank Dr. Michael Powell, Dr. Avivi Lore, Ash Robbins, and Max K. You guys have been really great. And I'd like to thank everyone at CITRIS. It was a really nice experience.
Hi, my name is Marjorie Telsilla, and I'm a second-year student at UC Davis majoring in electrical engineering. This summer, I interned at Robotic Cats, a climate tech startup based in Hong Kong that specializes in AI wildfire detection. The project I developed this summer is a microclimate overlay prototype, which consists of two phases: a physical hardware microclimate sensor and a software program that overlays current weather data onto wildfire images sent from Robotic Cat's Lookout software. The purpose of this project is to provide users with more situational information to allow them to make a more informed decision on how to best respond to a wildfire detection and how to better detect false alarms. An image is first downloaded from a camera and sent to Lookout, which indicates whether a wildfire is detected. In the case of a wildfire, my program will retrieve weather data from Open Weather Maps API, and every 5 minutes, a nearby microclimate sensor will send readings to the ThinkSpeak platform. If a microclimate sensor is nearby, the program will retrieve the last 12 readings and overlay the most current readings onto the wildfire image, along with the other info retrieved from the Weather API. A graph of the microclimate trend in the past hour, along with an overlaid image, will be sent to the user as part of Robotic Cat's wildfire alert system. This is an example of the overlaid wildfire image. This is the hardware prototype, and this is a sample of the microclimate graph. While building the hardware sensor, one challenge I ran into was prolonging the battery life in order to make the maintenance of the device easier and more appealing to users. I was able to solve this issue by incorporating a data storage platform, ThinkSpeak, and putting the device in deep sleep every 5 minutes. A takeaway from this experience is the importance of storing data to remove dependencies on hardware devices. Future improvements that can be made to this prototype include waterproofing the design by incorporating a waterproof sensor, and also customizing the enclosure to make it more suitable for rain. Additionally, more sensors can be added to provide more microclimate information to the user. I wanted to thank Andre Chung as well as the rest of the Robotic Cats team for being such amazing mentors throughout this program. Thank you for listening.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Kyle. I go to UC Santa Cruz, and this is my presentation on my COVID-19 time analysis, which I did at Fuse US Lab, so a part of the digital health sector. So introducing Fuse US Lab, it stands for Food, Energy, Water for the Underserved, Fuse US, and they made COVID-19 a centralized digital health dashboard monitoring like SARS-CoV-2 wastewater surveillance across the globe. It tracks treatment sites, university efforts, and then regional dashboards. So our goal is to bridge health and technology. So I had to constantly maintain an updated and reliable dashboard for health officials, researchers, and the general public. Fuse US Labs is located at UC Merced, where Dr. Naughton leads efforts to bridge the resource accessibility gap between the Central Valley and places such as the Bay Area or Southern California. And on the right, we have screenshots of the Twitter account as well as the dashboard. And the link is over here on the bottom left corner of the screen if you guys are ever interested in checking it out. So I worked on a time analysis project by compiling dates and data inputs for several categories. Responded to emails daily containing related publications, potential dashboards, add-ons, and requests in an orderly fashion. I learned about time analyses as well as the importance of communication with supervisors and mentors, as they have much more experience than I do in the field that we worked on. And I had to understand the importance of data and access to information. So for the future of the project, I hope the project helps identify how quickly wastewater surveillance for SARS-CoV-2 is adopted globally. And I also want to compare the time analysis graph on the right to wastewater monitoring structures that remain after the pandemic gets to simmer down, because scientists are working daily to help find ways to combat the virus. I also want to see which locations begin adopting surveillance for additional pathogens such as influenza and the growing issue of monkeypox. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you so much. I want to acknowledge Dr. Naughton, Kristen Kodonsky, Linda, Luna, and Daniel, and as well as CITRIS and the rest of the Fuse US lab. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Luna Lin, and I am a student at UC Merced, and I worked on COVID Poops 19 with the Fuse US Food, Energy, and Water Systems for the Underserved lab at UC Merced. COVID Poops 19 is a global dashboard for the public to view wastewater monitoring in their area. Part of my internship this summer was to, along with my peers, read news articles, websites, and publications to find more sites to add to our dashboard. We want to make sure that access to wastewater monitoring resources is readily available. Alongside this, each intern in our team did an individual project. My individual project was to compare the CDC's NWSS National Wastewater Surveillance Systems coverage and BioBot, a private testing company's coverage, to COVID Poops 19's coverage of counties in the US. You can see the coverage of those two dashboards here. Throughout this internship, I wondered about how important this dashboard is, and how viable is it to maintain and keep the dashboard up to date. But these concerns were extinguished when I learned about how many people visit the dashboard, and also when we were mentioned in National Geographic, as well as journal articles. My individual project accumulated in this map that I made on ArcGIS. It shows the wastewater monitoring coverage in every county in the US, whether it's available on only one dashboard, indicated by the blue, red, or orange colors, or if there are sites on multiple dashboards in a county indicated by the different shades of green. Across the US, over 850 counties have at least one site monitoring for SARS-CoV-2. Many counties have more than one monitoring site, as there are over 2,700 monitoring sites in the US. This map allows us to visualize where we can improve and all the sites we can merge to better COVID Poops 19. I'd like to give a special thanks to Dr. Naughton, Christian Kodonsky, and the rest of my team for our work on this important resource for disease monitoring. I'm also very glad that CITRIS was the gateway to working on such a distinguished project. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Daniel Tucker, and I am a computer science and engineering senior at UC Merced, and over the summer I worked with the organization Fuse US Lab. Now, the problem that my internship aimed to solve, really has to do with what they do. So in this case, Fuse US Labs provides data sets, metadata, and dictionaries to a global dashboard known as WSphere. The dashboard provides SARS-CoV-2 wastewater surveillance data to the public, and it is overseen by Dr. Joanne Rose. Now, the problem that my project aimed to solve was to be able to process dirty and irregular data into usable and clean data. More specifically with the Victoria, Australia data. And this is important because it will, provide more accurate SARS-CoV-2 wastewater surveillance data to the public, as well as give a possible solution for issues that my project aimed to solve as well. Now, an example of me using the feasibility, viability, and desirability framework was when I was trying to figure out what the process of how I would do the project. So essentially, is to process the data. Now, first, I wanted to directly map the data. However, that was not possible because of the sheer amount of data that was there, as well as the inconsistent data that was provided. So desirable, yes, to use APIs, but it was not feasible or viable for that reason. What was a feasible way to do it was to store it into a variable and then modify it as needed, which give a good balance of feasibility, desirability. Viability would be the weakest out of the three because of it being a temporary solution to something that is much bigger. Now, the next steps to advance the project would be to use APIs or to build off what I did. However, a couple days after I had finished my project, APIs were provided from Victoria, Australia, the government website. So that would be the most likely step after mine, which would just be to redo the whole project using APIs, which would allow for direct data mapping. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Linda Singh. I'm a senior at UC Merced studying environmental system science, and I'll be presenting my project, Expanding Digital Health with Wastewater Surveillance. Please make sure to scan our QR code at the bottom left of the slides so that you can have access to additional information for this project. My host research lab was at the UC Merced campus with food, energy, water systems for the underserved with Dr. Colleen Naughton. I participated in their COVID-19 research project. One of the aims of the lab was to update and collect data that is publicly available and publish data to their global dashboard. Dr. Naughton would conduct keyword searches on Twitter and then email links of the articles and publications for new wastewater testing sites or projects that had at least 3 months of data to add to our dashboard. This serves as an important tool that gives access to the public and health departments for environmental health and safety equity. Next, I will walk through an example of when I used the feasibility, viability, and desirability framework to solve a challenge during my internship. One of the challenges I experienced during my internship was being able to complete my individual project, which was researching COVID-19 clinical data and constructing data visualizations that compared the clinical data versus the wastewater data collected in the project. I was assigned 2 counties, Merced and Stanislaus, both encompassing a vast network of data which I had to access and organize. I approached it with this framework. The desirability for it was to have enough comparable data for a trend analysis. So I used reference literature that was compiled for the project to complete this part. Then for the viability of challenge, I needed access to public data for these locations so that I can organize it. I researched each county's public health department website to locate COVID-19 data. The last step was to be able to finish my deliverable before my internship concluded. For that, I established a communication with my principal investigator, Dr. Colleen Naughton, and my graduate mentor to plan assignments and prioritize tasks, for which I was able to narrow down my research and focus on just Merced County and specifically the city of Merced for the deliverable. So the next step for this project is a publication that focuses on the data collected from the Healthy Central Valley Together and the health equity seen in the Central Valley. My deliverable is this graph that shows the data for Merced County positive clinical tests reported versus the Merced County wastewater treatment plant analyzed samples for COVID-19. I was able to identify key trends found in my analysis, like that of the peaks of positive clinical data experienced in Merced around the beginning of the year of 2022, and the wastewater data that research has shown to identify surges within a 2 to 5 day window. This concludes my presentation. Thank you.
My name is Asia Oais, and this summer I worked with the PANS lab at UC Merced on a project called Fine Pose. So if your posture looks a little like this picture right now, I want you to try and straighten your shoulders a little bit. This is actually known as forward head posture, and it puts a lot of strain on postural muscles, and it could cause neck and back pain. So as sedentary jobs have been increasing in America, there has been an increase in prolonged sitting. And thus, there's also been long-term muscle usage, which leads to muscle stiffness. And as a result, chronic pain has increased drastically in recent years. So there has been prior work on posture correction, but none of it addresses all aspects of posture correction that Fine Pose aims to solve. So Fine Pose needs to measure muscle stiffness, provide personalized feedback, be low cost, portable, and also provide for continuous monitoring. So this is the Fine Pose experimental setup. There is a vibration motor located at the top of the shoulder, and it sends a vibration signal through the muscle. And then the muscle vibration is detected with 3 accelerometer sensors. So my first challenge as an intern was, how do I make sense of this signal? Which properties should I look at? So I ended up focusing a lot on the amplitude of the signal for different stiffness levels, as well as how that amplitude decayed over the distance. And then I also looked at frequency and phase properties. And I really was looking for trends that could reveal anything about muscle stiffness from within these properties. So then after I'd collected the features, I needed to see how can I make an effective machine learning model. So I trained a classification model that could accurately classify a signal that can accurately classify muscle stiffness level based on the signal. So I really needed to look at which features lead to better and worse models and find the best combination of features to make accurate predictions. And then the final challenge I faced was making sense of the variation in the signal, in the data among different subjects. So a good way that I found to understand this variation was to train the model with one trial's data and test with another to see how accurate it was. And then I found that there did seem to be patterns when I did this. So the prospect of developing an algorithm that takes individual muscle differences into account is quite promising. So the future of Fine Pose largely lies in making a generalized model. So the system needs to be able to handle muscle differences among users, and the end goal is to create a low-cost, portable system that is applicable to all subjects and provides posture correction feedback personalized to you. Lots of thanks to Shijia Pan and Shabam for providing guidance, support, and encouragement throughout this experience, and thank you all for listening.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rafael David Condor, and I am currently a sophomore here at UC Berkeley, majoring in bioengineering. Last summer, I interned at the Health Tech Collab here at UC Berkeley, which is a collaboration space that is designed to advance the development of medical tools and devices in order to facilitate healthcare in low-resource settings. Today, I will present my internship project entitled The Development of Low-Cost Potentiostat for Electrochemical Glucose Sensing. According to the National Diabetes Statistics Report, in the United States, 37.3 million Americans, or about 1 in 10, suffer from diabetes mellitus. Diabetes is a public health problem since it is one of the leading causes of death and disability in the world. Thus, there is a great need to constantly measure and monitor one's blood sugar levels. And the most common way to do this is through the use of a glucometer, which is a type of an electrochemical sensor. However, with the rapid growth and advancement of medical technologies, biotech companies require a faster way to gather data from biosensors that they would use or that they would develop in a low-cost approach. Thus, the goal of this project is to develop a low-cost potentiostat, which is an analytical instrument that will run electrochemical experiments like glucose sensing, for example, from an Arduino for health tech startups to use when integrating new health technologies into their developed systems. So it is essentially a plug-and-play kit that will allow people to gather data from electrochemical sensors that they would develop. So during my internship for the first 4 weeks, I mostly did research on the assigned task. This included researching about biomedical sensors and how they work. I read papers and articles on how potentiostats were developed and more. In the second half, I focused on prototyping and I spent most of my time understanding schematic diagrams given by my advisor. Here, I started soldering electronics onto PCBs as prototypes. Moreover, I also designed a software using React that would enable the user to analyze and visualize the data gathered by the design circuit. This enables ease of use for the user, making them spend more time integrating new biomedical sensors onto their products rather than starting from scratch. The pictures seen on the slide are the prototypes that I've developed over the course of the internship with schematic diagrams and the app that I've developed. In conclusion, the current prototype is a data acquisition system that can be integrated to different types of electroanalytical experiments, such as in a microfluidics experiment. The internship has greatly helped me distinguish and decide my career path in the future. I'd like to thank my mentors, Karina Rehorn and Dr. Wakas Khalid, for guiding me throughout this internship. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tyler. Today I'll be sharing with you my project for the CITRIS Workforce Innovation Program. So the name of my project is Continuous Glucose Monitoring. Let's get into it. So big picture, motivation, and problem. So the problem that we sought to solve for this project was that of diabetes. So diabetes is a chronic health condition which affects the body's ability to convert food into energy. So that energy is found in the form of sugar. So when we have an increase of blood sugar in our bloodstream, our pancreas essentially releases insulin to counteract it. Those with diabetes aren't able to properly produce and regulate their insulin levels, and that essentially causes a high presence of sugar in their bloodstream, which can then cause various health issues such as heart disease, vision loss, kidney disease, and even death. As of 2018, about 10.5% of the US population suffered from diabetes, and that's about 34.2 million people from all age groups. So, technical contribution and learning. So first, let's look at a few existing solutions for diabetic patients. So diabetic patients use a device known as a continuous glucose monitoring device. This is known as a CGM. This device can be used to track blood sugar levels throughout the day. Other treatments include things like exercise, diet, and artificial insulin pumps. So CGMs simply record levels, but they don't offer any sort of call to action or immediate steps to be taken by the diabetic patient. Our project seeks to take blood sugar levels from CGMs and sort of combine it with other data from smartwatches, such as heart rate, sleep time, daily movement, and calories burned. By doing this, we hope to offer real-time behavioral recommendations in response to the patient's current and existing conditions. Okay, so next steps. So the primary focus for this summer was basically data aggregation, getting data from the smartwatch, as well as getting data from our glucose device. So, and then after that, we focused on database development as well. So, and the next steps would include things like clinical trials, basically to increase the size of our data set. And then from that data set, we would like to perform machine learning. Lastly, let's look at some acknowledgments. I would like to acknowledge Professor Shin Liu, Professor Yung Choi, Abar Romley, and David Gita. With that being said, thank you for your time.
Hi, everyone. My name is Phoebe, working towards a bachelor degree in bioengineering from UC Berkeley. Since I have always had interest in product development of novel medical devices, this summer I worked under the initiative of MPT, which stands for Multi-Purpose Prevention Technologies, with a nonprofit organization called Hammy Health this summer. The mission of Hammy Health is to advance multi-purpose prevention technologies, since millions of women worldwide have been suffering from the awareness of reproductive health issues and the lack of access to affordable products. Because studies have shown that women's sexual and reproductive health risks and unmet need for modern contraception are interlinked. MPT exactly satisfies the need because it simultaneously prevents HIV, other STIs, and unintended pregnancy. As the summer intern, I have helped on other tasks, such as the newsletters and a fellowship program funded by USAID. But my independent project is to conduct literature review on new innovative condoms to support the current MPT product database. So here I took a screenshot of the search bar of that database. It allows you to look up certain MPT based on the delivery method, active ingredients, etc. At the end, I wrote a blog summarizing my purpose, the methodology, key findings, and comments for the landscape review. During the internship, I have become more familiar with Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, and Word as I was doing secretary work. I have learned how to narrow down the scope and effectively find information of interest using keywords. In the process of building the database, I have become more used to networking with industry professionals using workplace emails. Of course, I have encountered the situation when the project is stuck in progress. What I learned from experience is to bring up your problem as everyone is giving updates in the team meeting, because people with more experience may give you suggestions or connect you with people who may be able to help you. So never get shy about asking for help. And I also learned to adjust the project parameters using your best judgments if the ideal scenario doesn't work out expectedly. For example, I was looking for a new common design that's onto active funding in the recent 5 years, but couldn't accumulate enough data. So I opened up the scope to products in the recent decade, and also included products that are patented but didn't yet go through clinical trials. My personal reflection for this internship is to be mindful for the project timeline. Even though at some moment I have no progress, I need to get things started with some small list and manageable tasks, and be communicative with the mentor or the manager, and let them know that any potential delay of the project. I really enjoyed the opportunity, and I will continue paying attention to updates in the multipurpose prevention technologies. And at the very end, I want to sincerely thank everyone in the Community Health, and it is an amazing experience working with them. Thank you, Bethany, Hannah, Christine, and Madison for mentoring me.
Hi, my name is Tej Joshi, and this summer I interned at the digital health industry on Berkeley campus. I was assigned to the Health Tech Collab, which is where I spent the majority of my summer. So, the Health Tech Collab is a digital health startup accelerator located on Berkeley campus. They provide resources and mentorship to aspiring and young startups in the industry. My job this past summer was essentially to landscape the digital health industry. Throughout the summer, I developed a framework for a digital health startup's suggested go-to-market strategy, the ways they should acquire funding, and a timeline for their development. I performed case studies on each of the 6 subcategories of digital health companies I identified to see what made them so successful. I identified key resources, VC firms, angel investors, and incubators in the industry that startups should target in the early stages. The last couple of weeks, I spent particularly focusing on the African digital health industry, which is a particularly exciting area of growth for the foreseeable future and a place where digital health could radically change the entire healthcare system. My technical contribution came in the form of quantitative research. I spent a lot of time scouring the internet and compiling resources into an organized form for startup teams to use. I improved my soft skills at work, interacting and taking constructive feedback from my mentor. In addition, at the end of my internship, I had a final presentation to my mentor, which forced me to improve my public speaking skills, which is something I believe will be very handy in the future. Looking forward, I'm extremely grateful for this internship. I had a great time and learned a lot. The skills and knowledge I acquired not only from the internship itself, but from the CITRIS workshops will stay with me for the rest of my professional career. In addition, while I will still likely apply to medical school in the future, I want to work for a year or two before attending, and I think the digital health industry will be a perfect place to start. Thanks for listening.
Hi everyone, my name is Sonia, and today I will be talking about my summer internship project, which involved developing a business model for a medical device used to monitor sickle cell disease. So despite being one of the first genetic blood disorders to be identified and studied, sickle cell disease has been stigmatized and underfunded. When patients have sickle cell disease, their red blood cells shift from being healthy, round, and flexible to being C-shaped and rigid. Patients often experience severe pain crises that can cause further complications, such as blood clots, organ failure, or worse. In an ideal world, patients cycle through primary, specialized, and long-term care to receive quality and specific treatments based on their needs and disease severity. However, in reality, this cycle is broken because a gap between patients and their providers makes it inconsistent to provide quality care. Many patients don't see a primary care physician regularly, so they don't have an established health record that can be accessed by other physicians. There is also a lack of specialized treatment centers for sickle cell disease, which generate better health outcomes for patients. Finally, there is no way of monitoring sickle cell disease and communicating that information to the patient and their provider. These issues are what KovaDX aims to correct by building blood monitoring solutions to empower sickle cell patients and their providers to proactively manage their health. Over the summer, I was tasked with developing a business model and strategy for utilizing their medical device in clinics that accounted for these systemic issues. So in building this model, there were several challenges that I had to overcome. The first challenge was conducting a competitor analysis. So in doing so, I conducted research on other medical device companies that were also developing diagnostic or monitoring tools for sickle cell disease. I looked into their advantages and disadvantages, as well as market share. This helped inform me how KovaDX could compete with other companies and uniquely fill the niche. And I was able to conclude that clinics were an untapped market for this device that could bridge the existing gap between patients and providers. The second challenge was understanding the status quo. This involved conducting qualitative interviews with physicians, sickle cell patients, insurance companies, advocates, and other stakeholders. And through this, I gained insights into how sickle cell is currently treated and the barriers that exist for both patients and providers. This also informed me about problems that exist within the clinic model and the opportunity for the device to correct them. Finally, I had to understand how the device would be integrated into clinic workflow and how the data from the device would be submitted into the electronic health record. And so to do this, I read papers and conducted market research that informed me that clinics were a viable market to target. So some next steps are conducting how EHR interoperability can be achieved, conducting research on pricing and profit models for clinics, going through clinical trials and the FDA approval process for the device, and finally beta testing it at clinics and going through an iterative prototyping process. And I'd just like to acknowledge everyone that has helped me throughout this process, including my team at KovaDX, my fellow intern Miranda, my health and tech collab manager, and of course the CITRIS Institute. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, I want to share my research on the pharma use case of KovaDX. First, let's define our customers. About 45 pharma companies, some of them are shown in the graph, are developing therapies for sickle cell disease. Besides pharma companies, medical centers are also worth considering. The current situation has some problems. First, low accuracy. Clinical trials often measure outcomes based on self-reported vaso-occlusive rates, which can be ambiguous and not consistent in pain levels. Second, poor efficiency. In some interviews, the healthcare professionals mention they lack the device to do all the assays at one time. Patients need to come to the lab regularly, even they live far away. And here we come to provide solutions. KovaDX provides an affordable, accurate blood monitoring device to closely monitor patients at home, empowering patients to proactively manage their health. Our device has many advantages. It's accurate, that it generates results from reliable biomarkers with real patient data. Second, being portable means it can perform blood tests anywhere, at point of care, not limited in the lab setting. Moreover, it solves the pain points of efficiency because it can perform complete blood tests with only one blood drop. It is also affordable, which can save budget from performing multiple lab tests. Last but the most important, the device empowers patients to manage their health and prevent pain crises through routine monitoring. Although I talked a lot about its advantage in clinical trials, our device can actually benefit drug development at all stages, including preclinical and post-marketing. With efficiency and accuracy, it can promote faster market entry and increasing market share. The market is growing. U.S. sickle cell disease treatment market is expanding. The growth is attributed to improving access to SCD treatment and potential pipeline candidates. All that point to a promising future. Fortunately, the public awareness of SCD is increasing thanks to successful campaigns and special events. The evolving pharma therapeutic landscape and presence of strong key market players with pipelines also guarantee the market growth. Now let's talk about competitors. I classify our competitors into 4 parts based on 2 features: portability and specialization in monitoring SAD. Based on my research, I think our device has great market potential. To wrap everything up, I come up with this business model. If everything goes well, I hope this would happen in the next 5 years. And here's the team. Thank you.